I'm Malcolm Harrison. I was in the United States Air Force for 9.5 years from '84 to 1992. I was in law enforcement K-9 and handled dogs and was a dog trainer as well as a law enforcement specialist for the entire duration of the time I was in. The problem I found it was initially when I pursued the effort of trying to obtain my VA benefits, I found that, of course, like everybody does, or at least a lot of people do that I've spoken with, that there were so many roadblocks, it seemed, and so many convoluted ways of going at things that it proved to be very difficult, not only to comprehend all of the paperwork, but as well the myriad of the process of trying to apply for the benefits beyond just the initial VA benefits. Signing up for the VA was relatively simple. Where the problems I experienced came in was uh, trying to connect the dots, so to speak, or play the jigsaw puzzle game of getting all the pieces in the right place. You had to have this form and you had to fill it out by this deadline and you had to go and meet with this person. And uh, several times, some of the things I experienced, they would set a time frame on, and I didn't quite understand what that time frame worked like. And so, a couple of the claims that I had tried to obtain, uh, they let or the time frame ran out on me before I could accomplish everything. For example, I had a car wreck while I was on duty in a military vehicle, and I injured both shoulders. And they gave me a certain amount of time before the claim had to be completed, and then they said I didn't meet the requirements for the claim, and so I appealed that decision and was not made aware of how long that appeal I had to get things done. They said they would be back in touch with me, and I never heard from anybody. Next thing I know, I reached out to find out what was going on, and they said, "Oh, the appeal process has lapsed, and you no longer have the option to pursue that." And so it was several things like that that just became such difficulties uh, that finally I realized I'm in over my head in trying to understand how the VA does their thing. And so I talked to several people, and most of them said, I had the same experience. And so I got on the internet and started looking at videos and trying to learn and trying to educate myself about the forms and the process of getting everything done the way it's supposed to be done. And it just became overwhelming very rapidly. And so I started looking at videos. That was how I found Hill and Ponton. Was I was looking at videos on how to obtain this and how to do that and what forms have to be done. And that led to me watching several videos through Hill and Ponton. And I didn't even realize it was Hill and Ponton that was doing so many, but I started realizing early on and very quickly that these videos I'm watching are very informative and very helpful. And then I started noticing, okay, this is from the same people. This is from the same law firm. And that's what led me to contact Hill and Ponton. And the rest was all downhill from there. They jumped in and took over uh, my process and helped me with everything, helped me to understand. Uh, and very, very informative, very helpful. Um, they basically said, if you give us permission to take a look at this, we'll look at it for you and we'll try to help you with this. And if we can, we can. And if we can't, we can't. And I enjoyed that. I respected that. I liked that there was no false promises. There was no misleading. Yeah, it's guaranteed. Yeah, we can do it. It was always, hey, we will try. And if we can help you, we will. And if we can't, we can't. And that's where it'll stand. And so I thought, well, you know what? It's better to have what is it, as they say, better to have a percentage of something than 100% of nothing. And that was the attitude I went into it with. And frankly, Hill and Ponton helped me tremendously and was able to get me the benefits that I had found very difficult to obtain prior to that. Very professional staff, very courteous, very timely, always responded to my emails and always told me where we were at and where they were at in the process. And so it worked out really well for me. I would highly recommend them to anybody that's having that kind of problem. If you're not a genius with the process the VA uses, uh, and I wasn't, I suggest strongly that you need to find someone who is very familiar with how they work and how they do things. Um, for me, at least, and I'm not saying this is the case. Uh, I'm just saying for me, it looked like that the system was set up in such a way as to make it difficult for the veteran, especially a veteran who's not intimately familiar with the VA's process. And so, if you're not familiar with that, I would suggest that you need to find someone who is. And in my case, that was Hill and Ponton. I would recommend Hill and Ponton to anybody. In fact, I have recommended Hill and Ponton to several veterans. I gave their number or your number to a veteran at church just a couple of weeks ago who's been having difficulty, and he asked me, I told him that I had been able to obtain my benefits and very satisfactorily, and he asked me how, and I said, well, I ended up looking at these videos, and I told him what I just told you, and he said, man, I'd like to have their phone number if you have it. I said, oh, absolutely. I can give you their number and a video or an email link, and you can give them a call. Uh, they'll hear you out, and if they can help you, they will. And if they can't, you're in trouble, because if they can't do it, I don't think anybody's going to be able to do it. And I've spoken to a dozen veterans in the course of just the last several months who I've given Hill and Ponton's information to and said, listen, just give them a shout and see what happens. That's all you can do. All you can get back is no. So it doesn't hurt to try.